Hey, what's up? So today we're going to be ranking and reviewing all of the MCU films and shows up until Wakanda Forever. I have not seen Wakanda Forever. I haven't seen any of the big spoilers, so I can't say I really know much about it. All right, there we go. I have to check my audio, make sure it works. But yeah, we're gonna look at the MCU, all the films and shows. And so I guess I should show you all the tier list, and it's all in chronological order. So yeah, we have top tier, amazing, great, good, decent, meh, and bad. I'm actually gonna go really close on these tiers, and we're gonna talk about each of them. Sorry, I was a little shaky. But yeah, we're gonna go. I think I should also do a haven't seen row because I haven't seen. I obviously have not seen Wakanda Forever yet, but I also haven't seen Werewolf by Night. Um, that's the truth. I really haven't seen either of these. I do plan on watching Werewolf by Night pretty soon. I just haven't got around to it. But I have heard very good things about both Wakanda Forever and Werewolf by Night. So the next time we're gonna make this like an annual tradition of like when Quantumania comes out, and maybe if another thing comes out, we'll do another one of these rankings. By that point, I will have definitely seen Werewolf by Night and Wakanda Forever. So yeah, here are your tiers: amazing, or top tier, amazing, great, good, decent, meh, and bad. We're going to talk about all of them, and we're going to see where they rank and why they rank there. All right, so we're kicking off with Iron Man 1. It's the one that started it all. We have way too many Marvel movies here, but that's okay. This is the one that started it off. And did it start it off well? In my opinion, I would say that it very much did. Iron Man is going to go into the amazing tier. Just to start us off, it's just going to go in the amazing tier. First of all, the casting of Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark was probably one of the smartest decisions Kevin Feige ever made. I think what this story does exceptionally well is that it's not just like a superhero story, but it's also a very grounded story. It has a nice balance of crazy comic booky and more grounded realism, which not every MCU film or show in recent days has managed to do. And I think Iron Man does that better than a lot of the MCU in a lot of ways. Having a guy in a metal suit that's flying around feel real. Tony Stark has a very strong character arc in this movie. Again, some people think Obadiah Stane isn't the most memorable villain, and maybe he's not, but I don't really care. Like he doesn't hinder the movie for me. Like there are some villains that aren't as memorable, and then there's some that are just flat out bad. And Obadiah Stane doesn't really hurt the movie for me. I don't really. I think the only critique I would have is the Ironmonger, but also how else would you have done that? I don't know. I don't know how I would have done it. So, yeah, Iron Man 1 is in the amazing tier. Now we're going to the Incredible Hulk. And it's just bad. I'm sorry, guys. I do want to rewatch The Incredible Hulk to see if I'm going to get a different opinion of it. And I'm also going to watch it because, obviously, Captain America New World Order is going to have the guy, the leader, who was set up in this movie. So it might be a good idea to rewatch this movie just to consider, like, Incredible Hulk. Maybe it's not that bad. Again, it's been a while since I've watched Incredible Hulk, but again, it feels really disconnected from the MCU. And I know why. I know it's because they recast Bruce Banner and all that, but still, it's the one I keep forgetting about. And I don't really want to forget about it. I don't like forgetting about movies. So, there you go. All right, next we have Iron Man 2. Iron Man 2 is one of those movies I watch and I say, that was all right, but I don't think I want to watch it again. I've seen it more than once, but like, it's not the most enjoyable. So I'm going to put it at either decent or meh. I'm going to put it at meh. At meh. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen. It isn't. But between this one and like some, of course, the first Iron Man, it's like, come on. What are you expecting out of me? The first Thor movie. This is a controversial opinion. I actually really enjoy the first Thor movie, and I'm going to tell you why. In fact, I'm even going to put it in the good tier because I think it is a good movie. So the reason why Thor 1, in my opinion, is a strong film, this movie's just gotten better for me, is the character arc of Thor. Yeah, he comes off whiny and bratty and spoiled, but that's the point. He's supposed to start off that way and become more of that selfless hero, that selfless character. It also introduces the Norse mythology side of the MCU. Thor is one of the biggest parts of the MCU. He's one of the biggest sections with Asgard and magic and space and all of that. And this movie introduced all of that. You know about the 9 realms. You know about the Odin Force, Odin, the Frost Giants, the Asgardians, the wars, the magical hammers, the Bifrost. All of it is here. And in the center, you have this fish out of water character arc about a man learning who he really is and figuring out what kind of hero he's going to be. And of course, you've got Thor, you've got Loki, you've got Heimdall, you've got the human cast. To me, this is just a really solid origin film, and I think it's easily one of the most overlooked Marvel films. The same is going to go with Captain America, the First Avenger. Again, I think this is another one that I'm just going to put in good. I'm going to put it behind Thor, but they're pretty close. Again, you have this new, again, Captain America is a huge section of the MCU to the point where his franchise is continuing after his character has passed through Sam Wilson. And to have this unique World War II setting with all of the more comic booky add-ons, that's so interesting. To me, it's really interesting. And of course, Steve Rogers, he really comes into his own. I don't know if he necessarily has as good of an arc as Thor, but I think what he has is more of like a static character arc. I think that's what it's called, where he influences the people around him. That's honestly the only reason Thor, or one of the few reasons why Thor is a little better. Steve's character arc is a little more fadey. You don't really know what his arc is. But beyond that, I do love the setting, and I do love the origins of one of the Infinity Saga's strongest heroes. All right, now we made it to the Avengers, the end of Phase 1. The all of a sudden God tier. And Avengers is great. I'm going to tell you why it's great and why it's not amazing. As I've come to watch Marvel movies, I think these bigger team-up movies can be good, but I think I've come to enjoy a lot more of the solo stories. And if these team-up movies can give a genuine impact, then I think they're amazing and top tier. Avengers is a fun team-up movie, but I don't really get anything out of it. I don't walk away with anything besides, oh, hey, that was a fun movie. And there's a part of me that wants to have some sort of message or meaning or coming away with something, which is why Avengers is great. Avengers also has a lot of plot holes about how Thor just magically comes to Earth after he destroys the Bifrost, how Tony Stark is just automatically accepted into the Avengers after being denied in the last Iron Man movie. And that whole thing, I mean, Hawkeye's a villain for the whole movie, and then all of a sudden he's a good guy. Nobody questions it. Like, this movie's fun. It has cool visuals. It has cool action. Loki is Loki. He's amazing. But I don't necessarily enjoy this movie as much. I mean, it's fun, but I don't take anything away from it, which is why it's in the great tier. All right, now we go into phase 2, Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3 is a movie which is kind of the opposite of the Avengers, in that it's not a fun movie, but it really explores a lot of psychology and the character of Tony Stark as he's going through this PTSD journey and all of that. And the more I've watched it, the better it's gotten for me, because it has those messages, because it has those more intense moments, those more character moments. And also, I think knowing a lot of people don't like the Mandarin twist, but I think Shang-Chi actually makes that twist so much better, because then you don't care about the Mandarin in Iron Man. You care about the one in Shang-Chi, and I care about the one in Shang-Chi 1,000 times more than the one in Iron Man 3. Trevor Slattery's fun. I think that's a really fun concept. Again, I don't know the comics, so I don't really care about the comics. I don't care about them. So yeah, I think in that character sense, this is a really, really solid film. Thor: The Dark World, I'm not even going to bother talking about this movie. It's trash. Never watch it. Just watch the scenes in Endgame and watch like a 5-minute recap. It's terrible. Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I'm going to put this... I don't know if I want to put it top tier or amazing. I'm going to put it top tier. I'm just going to put it top tier because I feel like I would regret putting this movie in amazing. Captain America: The Winter Soldier is a fantastic espionage film. It also works as an amazing sequel to the first Avenger. You have Steve Rogers now in the present day world, unable to kind of cope and understand with this new world. Winter Soldier does something that even the Avengers struggled with, and I think the reason for that is because they had so many characters to juggle, in that the stakes in Winter Soldier are crazy high. I mean, the whole like helicarriers, like the Project Insight, all of that has so high of stakes, but they also managed to tell such a strong character story about Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson and Tasha Romanoff that they can balance that. They can balance such high stakes with such personal and intimate character moments. And there's not a lot of MCU films with as big of teams that can do that. Obviously, Winter Soldier did not have as many characters to juggle as the Avengers, since Black Widow, Nick Fury, and the Winter Soldier were side characters to Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson. But it did something that the Avengers couldn't. That was, and I would even say what Iron Man couldn't do, is have those amazing political thriller stakes with also character. And I think for that, that just makes it top tier. All right, Guardians of the Galaxy. This is another Marvel movie that I think, again, I don't know. I'm going to put it at amazing, but really close to top tier. I was actually just talking about this with Winter Soldier, is that there's not a lot of Marvel movies that can use a big cast of characters and be just as exciting as filled with depth. Guardians of the Galaxy is like the Winter Soldier is one of those exceptions. I mean, they did a team up movie without any prior movies to set it up. Like the Avengers needed all of Phase 1 to set up that movie. Guardians of the Galaxy, that was just a solo movie. There's no Star-Lord solo movie. There's no Gamora solo movie. There's no Drax Disney Plus show. There isn't. They're all introduced here. And somehow it works. Somehow. It shouldn't work, but it does. And I think that's also what makes it so incredible. Obviously, the villain, Ronan, is not the greatest villain, and that's probably why it's amazing and not top tier for me. But again, similar to Obadiah Stane with Iron Man, Ronan not being as great of a villain isn't necessarily a bad thing, and it doesn't hurt the movie for me. So, yeah, Guardians is amazing. You should all go watch it. Avengers Age of Ultron. Age of Ultron is, again, I'm going to put it in great. For all of the same reasons as Avengers. It's a fun comic book movie. It's a fun movie. But I don't really take anything away from it. Again, like you've had these characters teaming up, they're cracking their Joss Whedon jokes. You get introduced to some new cast members. You've got Ultron, who's actually a solid villain. But again, it's just a fun little superhero movie. I don't really take anything away from it beyond just cool fight scenes. There you go. It's a little less good than the Avengers, but it does have better cinematography. Avengers 1 looks like crap from a cinematography standpoint. Ant-Man. Ant-Man is a pretty good film. I'm going to put this in good. It's a fun heist. It's a fun heist movie. The stakes are low, but that's the point. It's the point. Ant-Man is, obviously you have Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, which is just the best choice ever. You've got Michael Douglas as Hank Pym. Again, it's a small little origin film, just like Thor and Captain America. There's also a bit of world building for the whole quantum realm and Quantum and Ant-Man setup. And I think the fact that such a little saga of 2 films had one of the biggest impacts in Endgame, I think that's really cool. All right, now we're getting into Phase 3, Captain America: Civil War. It has to be top tier. It has to be. And again, Civil War did exactly what Winter Soldier did, in that it had an even bigger cast of characters. It had an Avengers-sized cast and still managed to make such an emotional story with the characters and a diverse, not a diverse, I'm forgetting the word, but divisive. You set up between Steve Rogers and Tony Stark. And I think also Zemo. Zemo is one of my favorite Marvel villains because of the emotional weight and the consequences of Age of Ultron that create Civil War. So yeah, I love Civil War. Great fight scenes, even better characters. First Doctor Strange movie. Super hot take. This might be my favorite movie in the MCU currently. This might be my favorite movie in the MCU. And it's because this movie, in my opinion, has every single element of a superhero movie that I love. It has a great character arc, great world building, great cinematography, and action fights and good stakes. The first Doctor Strange movie is completely introducing magic to the MCU. Not in the same like Norse god magic that was the Thor movies, but a different side of magic. One that is existing on Earth. Stephen Strange goes through this character arc where it is laid out the fundamental things about his character. Everything is about him. Like he's very selfish, he's arrogant, and he's a selfish, arrogant prick. And this movie tears him down to his absolute lowest and forces him to rebuild and rediscover himself in a different way. And you see that transition from the start to the end of the movie, and it feels natural. A lot of people compare this to the first Iron Man movie, but there's one key difference that I think a lot of people miss when it comes to Doctor Strange and Iron Man. When Tony Stark first put on the old Iron Man suit in the cave, right? The first thing he did when he got home was he was already changed as a person. Escaping that cave was his transition to deciding to become Iron Man. Like he was set from there. And then he had to deal with the consequences of his business and corrupt leaders. When Doctor Strange went to Kamar-Taj to learn magic, he didn't give a shit about the fact that Dormammu was going to consume the world or any of that. He literally says in the movie that he only went there to fix his hands. The only reason that he has stayed as long as he has to learn all the different magic spells is because it's part of Stephen Strange's character at this point. He needs to prove himself. He needs to prove that he's better than everybody. And as soon as he learns there's a whole new element to the world in magic, he forces himself to be better than everyone else. And it's not until the Ancient One's death that he finally realizes it wasn't about being the best sorcerer. It wasn't being about the best. It was about selflessness and saving people, using these powers for a genuine cause. Where Tony Stark figured that out. He was not building those Iron Man suits to be the best in this new realm. He was pushing forward with his identity and dealing with the consequences. So that's the difference between Doctor Strange and Iron Man. Again, Caecilius is not a great villain, but he does not hinder the movie for me in the slightest. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Not the biggest fan of this movie. I'm going to be completely honest. I'm even going to put it in the decent tier. And I think the reason for this being in the decent tier is honestly because the whole movie doesn't feel real. Like, the whole CGI final battle on Ego's planet, something feels off whenever I watch it. And I don't like it. Yondu's character arc, his death, that always hits me in the feels, but the rest of this movie I just really don't care about, to be honest. I'm not emotionally invested in this movie beyond Yondu in the same way that I was for the first movie. So, yeah, I don't really have a proper explanation as to why I don't like this movie. It's just not my cup of tea. Spider-Man Homecoming. Spider-Man Homecoming, I like it a lot more than I used to. I'm going to put it in the good tier. Spider-Man Homecoming has one of the best MCU villains. That's not up for debate. With Vulture, obviously. Michael Keaton does an amazing job with the role. Tom Holland portrays this younger, more naive Peter Parker who's just trying to fit in with Tony Stark. And a lot of people call him like Iron Boy Jr. and whatever, but that's not the point. It's not the point. This version of Spider-Man, compared to Tobey and Andrew, is living in a universe where there are other superheroes. He is also significantly younger than Tobey and Andrew. So this younger, more naive Peter Parker has now found himself in this universe with all these superpowered people, and he's trying to find his place in it. And he has this mentor in Tony Stark, and because he wants that father figure, because he wants that validation as a hero, he impulsively hacks Tony's suit and is just trying to prove himself as a hero. And he has to learn humility. He has to learn to be responsible in a way. Or he has to learn to be like Spider-Man. He can't just be another superhero. He needs to be... It's not about the suit, it's about him. I think that's a good way to explain it. All right, Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok, to me, used to be in the top tier, but I'm only going to put it in great. I'll put it here. The reason it's in great is because Love and Thunder burned the Taika Waititi comedy out of me. And now this movie, every time I watch it, it just feels like it's trying too hard to be funny. It's funnier than Love and Thunder, but I'm not always the biggest... Like, I like comedy, but sometimes there's such thing as too much comedy. And the more I watch Ragnarok, I feel like there's just a little bit too much. Just a wee bit. Although it is still funny. It's still great. Hela is an amazing villain. And there are some great final battles. But yeah, Love and Thunder burned me out. Screw you, Love and Thunder. I hate you. Black Panther. I recently rewatched Black Panther to get ready for Wakanda Forever, and it is an amazing, amazing film. T'Challa, like the whole cast of characters is just fantastic. T'Challa, Shuri, Killmonger, Okoye, Andy Serkins, whose name I forget, M'Baku. Like, there's this amazing cast of characters. The fact that the antagonist changes the protagonist, I think, is something that we don't see enough of in these movies and is so interesting. Killmonger really changed the game for Wakanda. This movie also does everything right in the world-building sense. We get a full understanding of Wakanda, its existence, how it works, how it is this more technological advanced society compared to the rest of the world, and should we share that technology with the rest of the world? It was a really cool debate. The only thing keeping it from top tier is the messy CGI final fight. But that's it. The movie's good. You should watch it. All right, now we're going to Avengers Infinity War. Now, unlike the first two Avengers films, I'm going to put this one in the top tier. I'm going to put it behind Civil War since it was a little too big for me. Not too big, but too chaotic. This movie did what the first two Avengers films couldn't do for me. And that is make me feel something or make me look at something in a different way. And that came through the character of Thanos, who really provided this twisted, screwed up, yet like good intentioned plan. Compared to Loki and Ultron, who are like, we're just going to blow up the universe because fun. Where Thanos had a genuine reason, and you felt his reasoning throughout the story. And I think that created so much impact. Of course, there are these emotional beats. You have these tragic death scenes of Vision and Gamora and the snap. And Thanos just works so much as a villain because of how he enters this movie like an absolute badass, and you slowly learn that he's not just a badass, he's a guy who genuinely thinks he's in the right. And then you're kind of confused on like, wait, who am I rooting for here? And then Thanos wins. So yeah, Infinity War did what the other two Avengers movies couldn't. So that's why it's top tier. Ant-Man and the Wasp is going to be meh. Fine movie. It's fun. I don't really care about it though. Captain Marvel is decent. It's a decent movie. It works. It's solid. And then the last of the Infinity Saga, Endgame. Endgame's going to go in great. I think this... No, the reason it's in great is not because of the same reasons as Avengers and Avengers Age of Ultron. It's actually because I hate time travel movies. I hate time travel movies with a burning passion. But when this movie is good and when it has those great moments, that they're almost always top tier. The portal scene, Tony Stark's death is perfect. I would not change Tony Stark's passing for the life of me. Cap lifting the hammer, all of those amazing scenes and all those amazing character moments in Act 1 would have made this movie top tier. But I really hate time travel. I think it's way too convoluted and annoying. And that's the reason it's at great. So technically, Spider-Man: Far From Home is the end of the Infinity Saga, but I consider it the multiverse saga. And yeah, since I think Endgame was the proper ending, and Far From Home is going to go right before Homecoming, as I think they're about the same, but I like Far From Home slightly better. Mysterio is another great villain. You have Peter kind of learning to be in this post-Infinity Saga world where it's like, oh yeah, everybody's superheroes now, and there's no one left because all the good ones died, and he has to come into his own as a superhero. And I really like that phase in his life. So, all right, we have a lot of phase 4. Jesus Christ. All right, we're going to try and rush through these as quick as possible. WandaVision is still top tier for me, but it's going to be at the bottom rather than the top. Multiverse of Madness kind of killed a lot of my love for this show. And the more I watch the finale, it's like, Agatha really didn't need to be in this. Hayward didn't really need to be in this. Like, Agatha was kind of like setting up a final fight that really didn't need to happen. And then when you take Agatha away, it's like, what's the point? It was a fun Disney Plus series. It has a lot of emotional story beats, which I love. And that's why it's top tier. Falcon the Winter Soldier, it's a decent show. It works. But would I put it before any of those? Probably not. Black Widow's meh. Yelena's awesome, but like, that's about it. Loki is an amazing series because of TVA and setting up Kang and being this emotional Loki character study in this Twilight Zone style setting. My only issue with it is the multiverse is really broken in the MCU, and the head writer for the multiverse, he doesn't even know what he's talking about because he retcons like 90% of the multiverse lore in this show in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So yeah, the multiverse saga is doing great, guys. You should go check out mine because I actually fixed the multiverse. You'll see it if you watch it. What If? I actually really like What If, and I'm actually going to put it in great. I really like all these different multiverse concepts. I love how different and unique and how each of these animated shorts, they have their own style to them, whether it's this more classy, timely World War II, this space galactic adventure, a comedy, a tragedy, like a thriller, zombie apocalypse. Like there's so much you get from all of these. So yeah, What If? I really like What If. Sorry, I got a text. It jump scared me. Shang-Chi. This is going top tier. Yeah, Shang-Chi is gonna go right here. Shang-Chi is in the same top tier boat as every MCU movie that I've talked about. It has big cast of characters, but creates this emotional and powerful journey about family and trauma. Shang-Chi is an amazing protagonist. Wenwu is a fantastic antagonist. And then all of the side characters. You've got Trevor Slattery. You've got Katie. You've got the aunt. You've got like the Morris. You got Morris. Morse makes the world go round, guys. Yeah, Shang-Chi is a fantastic movie. It again sets up a whole new section of the MCU for Phase 4, and one that is genuinely interesting. So, yeah, kudos to Shang-Chi. It's an amazing, amazing, amazing story. Eternals, it's a hot take every single time. Putting it at great. Fuck anyone who says no. Eternals is a full-on character study about history, as these people watch over history and question whether humanity is worth saving or not. And seeing as Ultron looked at the internet for 15 seconds and decided all of Earth needed to be destroyed by genocide, I think the Eternals might have been a little merciful. But the one thing about Eternals is it probably shouldn't have been a movie. Probably should have been a Disney Plus show. Simply because there's too many characters for one movie. But beyond that, I really like it. And I don't care what anyone else says. Hawkeye. It was great until you screwed over my boy Kingpin. So I'm going to put it decent. Look how you massacred my boy. They massacred my boy, Kingpin. He's like my favorite Marvel villain. So yeah. Actually, Hawkeye's going to go in meh for that. Screw Hawkeye. You don't touch my boy like that. Spider-Man No Way Home is going to go in top tier. You've got the GOAT Spider-Man, and you've got the Amazing Spider-Man teaming up with this Spider-Man as he finally matures into the adult version of Peter Parker you know from the comics. And you've got Doctor Strange, and you've got Alfred Molina and Willem Dafoe and the other villains who don't do as much. But yeah, seriously, I went into No Way Home. I went opening night. I went into that movie for Toby and Doc Ock, and I left being shocked by Andrew Garfield and Green Goblin. So, yeah, this movie has stakes, great characters. Honestly, that scene on the rooftop with the three Spider-Men talking about their trauma is my favorite moment because it really didn't need to happen, but it did happen, and it's a good thing that it happened because it finally just gave the characters to breathe, have that emotional depth, and really create this weird but wholesome multiversal bond between all three of the Peter Parkers. Now we're going to go to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. You're decent. It's really poorly written. Everybody feel like even Doctor Strange feels kind of weird, especially where he was in Infinity War and Endgame. He feels kind of like an idiot. And Wanda is for some reason psychotic. I don't really know how that happened, but I guess she's psychotic now. Moon Knight was actually really solid. Up until the finale, Moon Knight was great. The finale took a turn for the worst, but for five of the 6 episodes, this show was good. It was solid. It had that whole Egyptian lore, Egyptian gods. You had Khonshu. You had the split personality disorder between Stephen Grant and Mark Spector. And then you have Ethan Hawke as the Zealot. It was really, really good. Thor: Love and Thunder, kiss my ass. Miss Marvel and She-Hulk. She-Hulk's gonna go in meh. It was fun seeing Daredevil, but other than that, meh. And then Miss Marvel. It was a fun little homecoming introduction to Miss Marvel. It was cool. The only reason it's this low is because the villains kind of sucked. But yeah, I guess I can pull the thing down. You can see the MCU ranking. Hold on, I'll bring it one more tier. Here's my MCU ranking currently. Obviously, things might change once I see Wakanda Forever and Werewolf by Night and maybe even Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. But that is going to do it for now. So I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.